Anderson heaving one down the sideline, and he's got Cass Allen over the top. Big side, down the sideline. Touchdown. His signature move and his signature performance. Allen did ball one more time. 58 yards this time.
You're listening to the Bruin Bible. This is your host, Will Decker, bringing you UCLA football content all throughout the year for LA Football Network.
Up, LAFB fans, you are listening to the Bruin Bible right now, but we want to bring to you our sponsor for the show. It's Bet Online. Our partners at Bet Online continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's Wimbledon finals. I know our guy Madman will be all over that. The big tennis fan of the bunch. Major League Baseball, Dodgers in the midst of a big-time season, highest payroll in the league, 3 MVPs in the lineup. Can they figure it out? The latest fighting news, a huge MMA fight coming up this weekend for the UFC, and even next season's early NFL futures. I know you guys will be hammering the Rams and Chargers overs on the futures for next season. Head to our website to use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LAFB to get the bonus and get into the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. What is up, and welcome to the latest edition of the Bruin Bible. Will Decker, your host here, and we have a very special guest in the house, Jordan Strack, coming to us live from WTOL 11 out in Toledo, Ohio. Bowling Green alumnus. This is the type of guy we want to bring on the show. Some of the experts when it comes to Bowling Green football. UCLA's got them in week one. We want to know all the details about them, the offense, the defense, what's going right, what's going wrong. Jordan's going to provide that for us. Jordan, how are you doing today out in Ohio?
I'm great. Probably not as good as everybody's doing out in California, but everything's good here in Ohio. This is my hometown, so I've been here forever, and so I love it here. I don't know if everybody does, but I love it here in Northwest Ohio.
I love it, man. My parents actually live in a tiny town up in Michigan. I'm very pro Midwest. Don't take this LA big city nonsense for not liking Toledo. Sell the audience on Toledo, Ohio, because I think it's an underrated place. I've been there myself. What are some of the great things that Toledo, Ohio can offer someone when they visit there?
I am like the biggest cheerleader there is for Toledo, Ohio. I can tell you that for sure. I've been here my entire life. When I went to college, I went down to BGSU, which is literally half an hour down the road. We have a world-class zoo, a world-class art museum. We're the glass capital of the world. There's a lot of stuff, and it's funny because every time there's something that goes on in the world, somehow there's always a tie back to Toledo. I tell people that all the time. There is somehow always a connection to Northwest Ohio. You could pick any topic and somehow I can find it. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or something. I can find a way to get it back to Toledo, Ohio like that. It's unbelievable. So it's just a great little Midwest town. And we're not some itty bitty city. We have a ton of stuff going on here. The Mud Hens are here, the Mud Hens are world famous, I think. So we have a lot of really cool stuff. And the reason I love my job is we're actually directly in between Ann Arbor, Michigan. So the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, we're literally smack dab in the middle. There was a war fought over Toledo. We're right down the road from Cleveland, right down the road from Detroit. So we're like in this really cool spot in the world where people don't appreciate it nearly enough.
Dude, and you don't have to sell me on Michigan-Ohio State. Grandpa is a huge former alumnus of University of Michigan. That was my team growing up in college football. So U of M has a special place in my heart. I know that's the dividing line there. It's probably super interesting on Michigan-Ohio State game days to kind of check that out. But this is not about either one of those teams. We're here to talk to you about your former school, Bowling Green, Jordan. And I want to start off with Scott Loeffler, a name that I was like, I've heard of that name. Let me look more details into him. This is the guy that was recruited essentially to beat out the likes of Tom Brady and some other people in Michigan a long time ago, mid-90s there. And then you look at what he's done as an offensive coordinator. He's had stops at Auburn. He was the quarterback coach at Michigan. A lot of high-profile jobs. Comes to Bowling Green, and it's been underwhelming to say the least. 7-22 through his first couple of years at the helm of being with Bowling Green. Give me your kind of, evaluation of what Loeffler has brought to the program and which ways he can improve?
Yeah, for sure. It's a hot topic around here. There's no question. Scott Loeffler, he's been around, and he's I guess a lightning rod topic right now. It's his 4th season, but he took over an absolute mess. Like there's no other way to put it. When he took over 4 years ago, this is a program that was in bad shape, and it hasn't always been that way. When Dave Clawson was here, who people probably know now, when Dave Clawson was here, they had won a MAC championship, and then Dino Babers came in. Dino Babers people know because he's at Syracuse. So, but when he left, there was a little bit of a bare cupboard left behind, and then Mike Jinks took over, and it was even more of a bare cupboard left behind. So Scott Loeffler spent the first 2 years. He said, we're not going to touch the transfer portal. Really, the first 3 years. So we're not going to touch the transfer portal. We were going to build this thing literally from the ground up. They brought in a ton of young guys. They had last year, they were the youngest team in college football. They're probably really close to it again this year, honestly. When you go through and look at the two deep, I mean, it's a lot of sophomores. You see a lot of juniors. And that's because they wanted, Scott Loeffler said he wanted to do it the right way. And this offseason, they went and they finally made a splash in the portal. 3 of their 5 starting offensive linemen that you'll see coming up on Saturday are all portal guys. Because they just had to get better up front. It was ugly last year. But I think Scott Loeffler, he's a good dude, and he means well, and he's working his butt off. He is a guy who literally coached under Urban Meyer. He's been at Virginia Tech and Boston College and Michigan, and I mean, he's been around in these big time programs and knows what it takes to win. It's just a matter of finally getting these pieces in the right place. And I think this year will be the first time where I think Bowling Green is going to be truly competitive. Last year they went up to Minnesota and they beat Minnesota up there.
Wow.
I don't want to say it was a fluke, but they weren't ready to compete in that game, and I think they just came out and somehow shocked Minnesota. Do I think Bowling Green's coming out to the Rose Bowl to win? They're going to say all the right things. Are they going to win? Probably not, but they're more competitive this year than they have been in the previous 3 under Scott Loeffler.
And it's just, you can't underestimate any opponent. You know what I mean? I think that's what Minnesota did last year. And if UCLA is a smart football team, they're taking it as seriously as you could possibly get. The quarterback position, Matt McDonald, transfer from Boston College, came in last year, did okay. You mentioned some of the problems with the offensive line, but it looks like they're shoring that up a little bit. What have you guys seen from McDonald to kind of give you some faith coming into his second year at the helm with Loeffler that he's going to take that next jump in terms of being a quality quarterback?
Well, I think he's the most interesting story of the week because he is a California kid, and there are only 2 or 3 California kids on this roster. He grew up a huge USC fan, actually. I believe his dad played at USC. So he is the last in his family to actually play in the Rose Bowl. So it's something where he grew up going to games there. He has watched games there. He's always had a distaste for UCLA, I'd say. It just kind of ran in his blood. Like he had always dreamed of playing for USC and going to beat UCLA there in the Rose Bowl. And now he's going to try to do it for Bowling Green. So I thought that was an interesting little sidebar this week to the story when I talked to him this afternoon about it. I think Matt McDonald has not had a fair shake at Bowling Green. That's the way I'm going to put it. When I talked about the offensive line problems, nobody has been affected by it more than Matt McDonald the last 2 years. Because, I mean, he was on his back. He's running for his life. It's been a mess. That's the only way to put it. To be honest, some guys were probably playing that weren't ready to play because they just had nobody else. So when you go out and they've brought in 3 transfers, they bring in 1 from Rutgers, brought in 1 from Memphis, and 1 from Abilene Christian. That's 3 guys, 2 of which are coming from Power 5 programs. These guys know how to go play, and I think that's going to help Matt McDonald more than anybody. Receiver position, they're going to be okay. Tyron Broden's a guy you're going to see this week.
Osborne.
Yep, Austin Osborne is Matt McDonald's best friend. He's another California kid. I mentioned that there were a couple of them. It's those 2. They were high school teammates out there in California, and they are together. And Osborne's a transfer from Washington, so he's another Power 5 guy. So yeah, like if there's one thing though that might hurt, we just got word yesterday that Terrion Stewart, their starting running back from a year ago, is not playing this year. It was a grades issue, and he's not eligible. From my understanding, and he'll be missed. But they have a little depth at the running back position that I think that they'll be okay there.
And I think a lot of the programs nowadays, it's not that single tailback back there. It's work by committee. So I think you guys shouldn't be hurting too bad from there. You brought up some great points in Osborne, 64 catches last year. And then Tyron Broden, 17 yards a catch. I mean, that's nothing to snuff at in any level of division, like for football. So Broden is a stud that we're going to be keeping our eyes on Saturday. This offense, I think in a way, is just going to be much more improved from everything I've looked at. You guys were dead last in the MAC in points last year, points scored. Sounds like the offense has taken the steps through the transfer portal, just through some maturity where they're going to be a lot better on offense. The defensive side of the ball, I'm interested in talking about DJ Taylor, another transfer, ironically, from Wake Forest, 96 tackles for the Demon Deacons last year. What does he bring to this defense?
Yeah, there's a couple guys like that I think will jump out at you. And let me mention that Broden thing again. He's a legit 6'7", by the way. Like, wow. He's a nightmare. He's a nightmare matchup for a lot of people. I mean, 6'7" receivers aren't, they're not everywhere these days. So he's a really good player. So definitely keep an eye out on him. And you'll notice they'll use their tight ends quite a bit too. BG offensively, you'll see some 2 tight end sets and some throwback stuff and pro style stuff from them. On the defensive side of the ball, I personally think it all starts up front for them. I think their defensive line is actually probably their strength. Carl Brooks and Walter Hare got multiple year captains, multiple year starters. Those are guys up front that will play. You're going to see the guy you're going to see the most on defense, though, I think this week is 23 Darren Anders. It will feel like he is in on every single tackle. Like after every play, you're going to see 23 in on tackles all the time. Like he's always around the ball. He doesn't really jump out. He's like 6 foot, nothing that really like wows you, but somehow he is always right there. But yeah, guys like DJ Taylor. There's some guys on the back end too. Davon Ferguson's a really good football player. At that corner position as well, who I think is really talented. Are they deep enough? No, to compete in this game? Probably not. But I do think they have some guys that will at least be able to hold their own. And their defense was pretty good for the most part last year. I mean, their defense was pretty good throughout that year last year. It's probably the only thing that really kept them in a lot of those ball games.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the guys. Darren Anders, 124 tackles last year. Brock Horn, number 2 on the team in tackles, coming back. Carl Brooks, is a beast out there on the end. And I will say this, UCLA has had the luxury of having 2 very good tackles the past 3 years. Those guys are now on NFL teams, and Sean Ryan and Alec Anderson. So they're integrating new guys into those positions for the swing tackles. If your D-line comes in and plays to the level of football that they are capable of, this could be big problems for UCLA. So that is a formula for success. But, Jordan, I want to hear your take on this. If Bowling Green were to come in and somehow shock the Bruins, what would it take? And you can do a play-by-play. Is it them controlling the run game? Is it them, Matt McDonald, playing a clean game? What are some of those, qualities that you would look for if Bowling Green were to take this at the Rose Bowl?
I think – it's going to take some sort of spectacular effort. I think UCLA is going to have to make some mistakes for it to happen, to be honest with you. But it's going to take something similar to what happened in Minnesota. Bowling Green was going to want to come in and they're going to want to control the game, running the football. You don't want UCLA to be able to, when you have an unbelievably talented quarterback, you can't let him go out and run all over the place and then start beating you throwing it. You have to somehow find a way to stop Zach Charbonnet. Us up here in Northwest Ohio, we watched Zach Charbonnet when he was at Michigan. So we know what he's capable of, certainly. I think it's going to – I don't want to say it's going to take a miracle. Like, we're not talking – UCLA is not Alabama. It's not going to take some sort of, like, act of God. but it's going to take UCLA making some mistakes and Bowling Green controlling the football, maybe a special teams play, something like that. But if you're Bowling Green, like, you just want to try to hang around into the second half and muck this thing up a little bit and make it ugly. They don't care about winning. I can promise you, Bowling Green does not care about winning pretty. They just want to find a way. That game at Minnesota last year that they won was as ugly a football game as you could possibly imagine. So that, I think that's part of it. And then, the other thing is, like, I talked to Scott Loeffler about this today. Like, he understands what the Rose Bowl is all about. He, being at Michigan, playing there, and then coaching there. He was on that staff that won a national championship inside the Rose Bowl in '97. He gets it. And like he said today, like, when I started talking about the Rose Bowl, he's like, the hair on my arms is standing up just thinking about that place. And it's a mecca of college football. And so, him and Matt McDonald and Austin Osborne are trying to tell all these other guys on this team, like, what this is going to be like, how cool of an experience this is going to be for them to see this place. And I mean, that's special. Like, that, you can't, I don't think you downplay that. To me, like, you play that up. Like, you're going to get to go play in my opinion, the coolest venue that the sport has to offer. You play that up. Like, that's amazing. Like, these are opportunities you don't get every week. So I think it's all sorts of little things. And maybe BG somehow shocks the world. I don't see it, but maybe they do.
Well, you're endearing yourself to the LA fan base by calling this the mecca of college football. We love it, Jordan. Final score prediction. Just off the top of your head, gut feeling. What do you think? What do you think happens on Saturday?
I'm gonna say something like 37-13 UCLA would be my guess. When I'm trying to not be a homer and I'm trying to think with my head and not my heart and be the objective journalist that these guys pay me to be. That's what my gut would tell me. 37-13 feels about right. If there's a special teams play, if there's something weird that happens, a ball bounces some way, UCLA turns it over a couple times, then maybe something different happens, but that's going to be my guess for now.
I think that's a fair prediction, man. And the great thing about sports is we can predict, we can talk about it, we can make all the predictions in the world. But until it happens, and crazy things happen in sports every single day, we don't know what's going to transpire out there. So, Jordan, really happy you got to come on the Bruin Bible. We got one more question. I'm making this a tradition with all the new people that come on the pod. What have you been binging recently in terms of television shows? You got to give us the good stuff.
Man, I watch so much stuff. So I kind of have like the old school mix and the new stuff. So like the old part of me, I am obsessed with Big Brother. I'm a Big Brother super fan. Like, I have been. Since I work at a CBS, I'm not eligible to go on. I'm also like, at this point in my life, I'm probably too old to go on. I would be the old guy on the season. But I would do almost anything in this world to be able to sit through one season of Big Brother. But I finished Stranger Things the last season in like a week. Obsessed with that. I'm actually currently watching All American, the new season, which is such a weird juxtaposition because of the LA thing, and then also he goes to Toledo State, which again, like I said, everything always has a Toledo connection, even if it's a made-up school that they came up with. Again, a show like All American, you never would have thought it, but somehow there's the Toledo connection. So I'm currently in the midst of that. But dude, I watch way too much. I mean, and like my guilty pleasures, I do watch The Bachelorette as well.
Hey, it's great reality television. We can all agree on that. It's corny, it's cheesy, but you're hooked. I mean, I get it, man. That's
every
awesome.
Year, they get me.
Have you seen Severance? Apple TV show. Ben Stiller directed this.
I have not.
I have put 3 people onto the show, and they've all texted me back within like 2 or 3 days, being like, "Dude, you were so right. The show is amazing. It's really good. It's okay. A sci-fi thriller. Ben Stiller directed it. Adam Scott is like the main actor in there.
Okay.
who I knew as Derek from Step Brothers. That's like my only, yeah. But he's actually really good on the show. Apple obviously poured a ton of money in the show. It worked out. Better Call Saul is something I've been looking at. I was a huge Breaking Bad guy.
Same.
But dude, yeah, it seems like we would have similar alignings. But next time I'm in Michigan, and if I find myself down in Toledo, love to grab a beer with you, man. Thank you so much for coming on, bro.
That sounds fantastic. Anytime, man.
Awesome. Bruin Bible, we're out. Thanks again to Jordan for coming on. This is a fun game preview. See you soon. Saturdays are back for college football.